Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be starting a special series to interview what we refer to as our legacy stewards. Now, stewards are people who continuously throughout their lives serve our community. And no one can be a better example of that than the phenomenal Mr. Earl Bell, who is joining us today. Mr. Bell, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things that we were talking about before we started the interview was the fact that we have something in common. And that commonality is that I was born with what was called Hirschsprung's disease. At the age of 3 days old, they removed the majority of my colon. And the first year of my life, I actually had a colostomy bag as a little baby. Little did I know that people like Mr. Earl Bell were working behind the scenes to make that a possibility in my life. So, Mr. Bell, can you tell us a little bit of your history with regards to my phenomenal story and how it intersects with all that you have done throughout these years to serve our community?
Surely. Um, Back in the late 50s and early 60s, there was a woman whose name was Norma Gill from Cleveland, Ohio. Anyway, she called our attention to the need to improve the care of people with diversionary surgeries such as yours, and and continue to improve the appliances or the supplies needed to do this care. Now, also, there was a definite need to address issues like what we refer to as body image concerns. And that's included in the plan of care for these people. Now, as this was introduced, there was extensive training in terms of the problem and what the patient's needs were. This is where I came along because I was in the second class here at Emory uh, to answer those kinds of questions. We were given a foundation identifying what the patient or the client was going through. And after that, we was essentially told, go and solve the problem. So that's where we are.
Well, give us a little bit of history with regards to what got you to be able to be in that point. We have to set the scene in terms of where we were as a nation at that time and what made your particular journey so phenomenal during that time period.
Well, as I said, there was a definite need to improve the care. Um, so during that time, uh, as I said, we were told then that this problem was coming along and there we needed people to address those problems. Specifically with me, I was working at the University of Miami Jackson Memorial Medical Center at the time. And I never will forget, there was a gentleman who worked for a company called Coloplast Bard, and his name was Dick Clark, a famous name that you never will forget. So during an in-service program, he announced the upcoming training for this particular area in healthcare. Now, during that time, I was completing my baccalaureate degree at Florida International, and there was a lady who was in one of my classes whose name I don't remember
Mm.
or exactly which class it was, but we sat side by side.
Mm.
Well, turns out this lady announced that she was the head of the American Cancer Society in the southeastern United States. And so we were chatting, and I said to her, this was an endeavor that I'd like to pursue.
Mm.
This was on a Friday
Mm.
afternoon. We returned to class on a Monday, and she said to me, I've had it arranged, so you'll be going to Emory if you would like. Yay!
Wow.
Uh, so, you know what that tells me is when we are able to help each other, is
Mm.
what it's all about. And that's how I got through the training following my graduation, which was uh, that next August.
You know, one of the things that I love about your story is the fact that you had the audacity, or should I say, the boldness of saying, you know what, this is what I want to do, regardless of what other people may have said or other people's conceptions or perceptions that say, well, you can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. So tell us a little bit more about that gumption that and how that played a part in all of the things that happened in your life.
Well, you know, I came along in a segregated society.
Mm.
Um, Went to school segregated, graduated from a little high school um, that literally didn't have very much. But the teachers that we have instilled in us persistence, the fact of the need to continue to learn.
Mm.
Now, as I went left and went away to South Florida to work and to go to school, um, those values stuck with me.
Mhm.
And I was able to, believe it or not, even make the president's list uh, during my stay at Miami-Dade Junior College. That's something to talk about, knowing of where I came from. Um, so I'm hoping the message that I can share is being persistent, having drive, and being able to just hang in there and continue to do what you need to do.
Is there a particular experience that you have during all of your years of serving within the area of healthcare that had a significant impact on you as a person that, you know, you look back and you're like, wow, that really changed my world?
Uh, well, you know, there are many, many experiences. Uh, During the time, I like to say when I was coming along, uh, the focus was on the patient and being able to address all of those needs. Now, it's not a criticism of what's happening today. It's just that we were able to do things a little different. Um, for instance, in one area that really had an impact for me was as a junior nurse coming along. I worked in an orthopedic unit,
Hmm.
and we did not have any hospital acquired bed sores.
Hmm.
Now that was something uh, that was really a big challenge to a lot of the institutions. We kept our infection rate very, very low. below the minimum standard that we had. So those kinds of things impacted my train of thought is to if there's a problem, there's a solution
Mhm.
for the better. And that sort of stuck with me. And that's what is true in regards to the care of people with ostomy,
Yeah.
solving those problems, being able to just go in with all forces and get it done.
Hmm. Now, I know that people such as yourself that are working in healthcare, the hours can be exhausting. I was wondering, have you ever had to deal with what they term caregiver fatigue? And if so, what are some of the things that you would suggest to other people in healthcare to help to not go down that road?
My take on that is after I discovered that that was my thing, so to speak, I still love going to work. I loved what I was doing on time. When they asked for, Mr. Bell, can you stay over? Yes, because not only am I continuing to learn, but I felt a sense uh, of being able to help. So
Mhm.
that was that was how I saw it. I never had a day where I hated it or that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Now, when I ran into challenges and that kind of thing, somehow or another, I just was not discouraged. I just
Is there a
continued.
particular patient that stands out in your memory?
Well, you know, there was a patient that I had, as a matter of fact, on that orthopedic unit. And this gentleman, who was a prominent citizen in the community, who was an entrepreneur,
Mm.
and he was involved in an auto accident.
Mhm.
He had multiple injuries.
Mm.
During the time, developed diabetes, on and on and on.
Wow.
And as a result of the nursing staff having to treat and care for him, there was the need to do dressing changes.
Mm.
And as I was functioning as the charge nurse at the time, where my responsibility was assuring that people received the care that they needed. And I discovered that the dressing changes, and to make a long story short, was not getting done.
Mm.
So, of course, I had to address that issue. Now, that's telling me uh, to not only do your job, but be good at it,
Mm.
not ever eliminating any of those factors that are required. So that experience, it's still with me today.
Hmm. The other part of your story that you told me prior to us starting today was the importance of recognizing that people from various walks of life that may not look like you and I, that may have completely different experiences, can be instrumental and beneficial in our paths. I would love for you to share a little bit more about how God is able to bless us in a lot of unlikely ways.
Absolutely. Now, remember, I was telling you of how I grew up in a segregated society. Now, even today, there are those of us who continue to hold on to anger or I don't know how else to say it itself, or dismay with situations that have happened in the past.
Mm.
Now, the lady from the American Cancer Society, who was Caucasian, I think I was the only Black person in the class. Now, just suppose I was holding on to anger uh, because of what had happened in the past. Gee, look what an opportunity I would have missed. Um, Again, so that's a reminder, that there's a need for all of us to grow, all of us, in all kinds of situations.
And to approach each other with an openness, to be able to say, who knows what that person can bring to the table? Who knows how that person can help me to become a better person?
That's right.
So that was tremendous that you were able to understand that and implement that in your life, given the time period and being such a young person at that stage.
Mhm.
Wow. So now, one of the things that we always want to bring our focus towards is looking at our youth, and I'm sure that you have perhaps considered your legacy. What is the legacy that you would like to leave? What are some of the significant lessons that you would like to pass on to the new generation, to the next generation?
That now that's a very easy one for me. Um, I'd like to think that I'm a child of God who is inspirational in many, many ways. Um, I really feel my story uh, would be very, very helpful to inspire, especially our really young people.
Mm.
Now, I'll give you an example. I believe since we talked, Dr. Gammo, this situation happened. I stopped at a neighborhood store,
Mm.
um, and I was driving one of my vehicles uh, that, you know, and two little boys, I would imagine they were about 8, 9 years old.
Mhm.
And they came up to me and said, "Oh, is that your car?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, maybe, what what kind of work do you do?" And I told them that I was a nurse. "Oh, well, I'm going to do that one day." And I went on to explain, yes, you can. And I wanted to use that opportunity to encourage them,
Mhm.
work hard, study hard, obey your parents, and become to know God.
Mm.
Um, Now, that experience is going to stick with me as well. Uh, to be able to continue to inspire, especially younger people, which we need today, uh, to go on and just continue to offer encouragement all along the way.
Mm. We are here in Savannah, Georgia, beautiful historic Savannah, Georgia, to join in the celebration of Founders Day for the AME Church. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the role that God plays or has played in your life. Why is that was so important? Because you mentioned it just now. So I was just wondering, what is it that makes God so important to you and a part of your journey?
Well, it took me a while. I say a while because as I as I told the story of furthering my education and that kind of thing? Well, of course, I can say, well, I know God, who is, that there is a God and that kind of thing.
Mm.
But as I became more mature and grew, um, grown on, especially on my Christian journey,
Mm.
I discovered the man's awesome powers, the love that he has for all of his creation, and and his word, the truth of his word. Now, we have to come to realize that, and it comes by you have to be able to hear his word,
Mm.
be able to hear his word, implant those words upon our hearts, and being able to implement and do those kinds of things uh, that he's telling us. Nothing but the truth. The word of God is the truth.
So is
Um,
there a particular event or situation that you went through that when you came out on the other side, it was like, wow, this really shows the power?
you know, it's something as minor as this. Let's just say, uh, just prior to your interview,
Mhm.
we were in a session um, at the Founders Day at Saint James. Somehow, after the presentation, we came back to the hotel. Now, I received an important phone call that had to do with a preoperative surgical procedure that I'm undergoing right now. Now, just think, had I been not able to answer the phone, what I would have missed out there. Now, that's telling me God is in control. He guides us and protects us and provides comfort.
Mm.
Now, that's just one example. I mean, every part of our lives, from our waking up in the morning, from breathing fresh air, to be able to drink water, God is responsible for all of that. He tends to all of our needs.
Mm.
Uh, so that's just one example.
Exactly. That is phenomenal. Well, as we start to close out, is there anything that you feel is important to share that I haven't quite touched on yet?
Well, yes, because of our history and, all over the years, I am for sure the first Black professional nurse to to become involved in this kind of special care.
Mhm.
Now, that's important because, you know, history should show that all of us are involved in making our society and our community a
Mm.
better place. Especially people of color make a significant contribution to the lives of people. Um, I'm hoping that that would be part of my legacy.
Well, if we have anything to do with it, it definitely is going to be part of your legacy because we are extremely grateful to you, Mr. Bell, for paving the way, during a period in our history where things were not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And you are a trailblazer, not only as a person in general, but specifically in this area of healthcare. And I can say that from personal experience because I know that I personally benefited from your contribution to the area of healthcare. So thank you on behalf of many, many millions of people who do not know you, probably will never know you, but the importance is that we give that accolade to our legacy stewards while you're here with us and not wait until the hereafter. So thank you so much.
And thank you.
Okay. Well, ladies and gents, I thank you for joining us for our first in a series of many to come that we are going to be entitling highlighting our community stewards, highlighting the people who have given so much and, like Mr. Bell, have trailed the blazed way to open up the pathway for many people to come afterwards. It is only because of people like Mr. Bell that we have phenomenal area of healthcare today, and we have the expertise and the accomplishments of countless individuals today and to come. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in future episodes. Peace and blessings.